Psalm 121 using the pencil file. Number one on the pencil, a pencil. Imagine this pencil has gigantic, enormous oval eyes. He's looking down and then he looks up and he says, I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? This pencil, he's looking up to the hills and he lifts his hands. Where does my help come from? That's verse 1. Verse 2, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Verse 2 on our file was shoes, a pair of shoes. Imagine out of that scene, the hills, comes flying a pair of shoes. And they have a book in their hand, and this book is called The Help. Maybe you remember this book that came out years ago. They actually made a movie out of it too. So these shoes, they are flying, they're having this book called The Help in their hands, and they are coming to the pencil. So where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. For the Lord, we are going to use a gigantic, enormous L, capital L, and this L has a crown on the top of the long part. That's the Lord. So my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Well, guess what? The shoes, one is named heaven and the other is named earth. So there you have verse 2. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Verse 3, tree. Well, he and tree rhyme, and our verse begins with he. He will not let your foot slip. And I thought, how about the tree, since he tree, but the tree is full of slippers. Instead of leaves, it has tons of slippers. That reminds me of slip. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. So again, he who watches over you. So also in that tree, the trunk of the tree, there's this enormous clock. And that reminds me of watch or watches. So he who watches over you, will not slumber. Well, a ewe is, I believe, a little female lamb. So I also imagine a little lamb, a little female ewe, a little ewe, E-W-E. And so he who watches over you, so imagine this gigantic watch, and by this watch is the little ewe, E-W-E. And this ewe is actually slumbering in a hammock. But he who watches over you will not slumber. That's verse 3. Verse 4, indeed, and verse 4 in our file was the dog. So his name is Indeed, and that's how we start verse 4. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither sleep nor slumber. So indeed, the dog is actually, he has a watch on his paw. And inside of his watch is the whole land of Israel. So indeed watches over Israel. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. So you can imagine the dog, indeed, he's actually in the hammock as well, and he's slumbering and he's sleeping, but he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Verse 4, the star. The Lord watches over you. And so imagine your gigantic, enormous L with the crown on top, the Lord, and he watches over you. Well, he's wearing a watch as well, but this watch is in the shape of a star. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. Well, so this gigantic L with the crown, you can imagine him just pulling a shade up and down, up and down. Lord is your shade at your right hand. So that's verse 5. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. I use the shade up and down, or you can use a pair of sunglasses, shades, and the right hand could be wearing a pair of shades. Verse number 6, we are Yeah, the sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. And 6 is sticks. So I imagine a big, bright, brilliant sun. And you know how the sun has rays? Well, this particular sun has arms, all of it's just tons of arms beaming out from this sun because the arms remind me of harm. So imagine this bright sun with all of these arms, and he's holding a bundle of sticks because it's verse 6, right? 6. So the arms are holding a bundle of sticks. So he will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. I did not do anything for the moon by night because typically when there's a sun, there's a moon. And so I just remember sun by day, moon by night. That takes us to verse 7. The Lord will keep you from all harm. So again, we have the gigantic L with the crown, and he will keep you. Imagine at the base of this gigantic L is a big bundle of keys. So the Lord will keep you. The keys remind me of keep. The Lord will keep you from all harm. Again, you can use arms. So there's tons of little arms trying to get those keys, but the Lord will keep you from all harm. The Lord watches over your life. So again, we have the capital gigantic L, the Lord, and he watches over. So again, he can have a watch. He's watching over your life. This watch is made out of lifesavers, or the numbers on it are made out of lifesavers. And you can, so you could have the number 1 could be 1 red lifesaver, and number 3 could be 3 green lifesavers, and number 10 could be 10 purple lifesavers. So he will watch over your life, and that lifesaver just reminds us of life. Verse 8, and that's on our file, is the hourglass. And I forgot to say verse 7. Verse 7 is heaven. Verse 7 is heaven, and the Lord who resides in heaven. We see the Lord in heaven, and he will keep you from all harm. So he has the keys, and he's keeping us from all harm. Verse 8 is the hourglass. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going. Again, we have the Lord, the capital L, gigantic, enormous L with the crown. He will watch over your coming and your going. Because it's verse 8, I also thought about the hourglass. And in the hourglass, you know how it has sands? Well, this one has little pieces of a watch. So fine, just like the grains of sand. And these little pieces of watches, they're coming and they're going. And the Lord watches over your coming and your going, both now and forevermore. So both, a boat could remind me of both. And this boat is just going on about its business forevermore, going out to sea forevermore, both now and forevermore. There you have my pictures for Psalm 121. You are free to use them or just change them to work for you, whatever works for you. So God bless you on your journey.